Hey guys, this is Natasha and welcome to my channel, Love My Me. The focus of this channel is to discuss all things health and wellness related. And as a medical provider, I want to cover a little bit of the traditional stuff, but much more of the holistic natural therapies. Now, the target of today's video is to talk about the sinuses. Spring is coming. Where I live, the pollen is falling and people are starting to have sinus issues. The most common problem that people have is before they go to the doctor's office, they're trying to deal with their issues at home, but they don't know what kind of medication to take. So, a good thing to remember is to use the medication that targets the symptom that you are having the most trouble with. So if you are having sneezing, runny nose, watery eyes, itchy ears, itchy throat, you want to get the medication that targets that. If you're having a lot of headache, sinus pressure, stuffiness, then you want to get a medication that targets that. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Sinus medications for sinus headache, sinus pressure. So the common thing with all sinus medications, no matter what form you can get the tea Theraflu form, you can get the pill form, you can get the nasal spray form, and you can get the kind that's in a pill or a tea that makes you drowsy for nighttime. No matter what form you get, you want to get something that is comfortable for you. So let's start with the nasal spray. This is the Equate brand from Walmart. And the equivalent to this, you'll see it on the countertop, is Afrin, but Equate is much cheaper. It is the same active ingredient. The active ingredient is oxymetazoline. And this is good for about 3 to 5 days if you're having just sinus congestion and pressure, not really having any other symptoms. It treats your sinuses locally. So this is good for about 3 to 5 days. Helps with opening everything up. But remember, you don't have to buy the name brand. You can get the store brand. Just look at the ingredient. The ingredient is oxymetazoline. Let me hold it closer so maybe you can see the active ingredient. I don't know if you can see that there. It says oxymetazoline. So that's going to be good with just sinus pressure and pain. Now, if you're the kind of person that does not like nasal sprays, because I don't, then you may want to go with a pill version. So in the pill form or in the drinkable, the tea form, the common ingredient is phenylephrine. All right. So when you're looking for your sinus medicine, look for phenylephrine. So depending on the strength you need, the phenylephrine dose might be higher or lower. So it may say 10 milligrams. It may say 5 milligrams. So always get the medication that targets your worst symptom. If you're having a lot of sinus pressure, a lot of sinus like headache, facial pain, but not too much sneezing, not too much runny eyes, coughing, then you want to get something to target that. And the best thing for pure sinus symptoms is Sudafed. For any of these medications, if you have high blood pressure, you gotta watch out because it's gonna drive your blood pressure up and you want to stay away from this. There's other medications over the counter that you could take that aren't going to increase your blood pressure. Hang on, I got an alert here and it is getting in my way. All right, so Mucinex Sinus. So you have Mucinex Sinus, you'll have Alka-Seltzer Plus, you'll have Tylenol, all the different brand names, tomato, it's just about what you prefer. So common ingredient, phenylephrine. If you just targeting sinus pressure, sinus pain, go with the Sudafed, all right? These medications can cause jitteriness, can make you feel a little bit out of sorts, but that's one of the things you won't know until you start taking the medication. Personally, for me, I have used these in the past, years and years and years ago, and it's just not for me. It causes too many problems with my nervous system, too much jitteriness, just too much shakiness. So I prefer the more natural remedies, and we're going to talk about that later because this is a series on sinuses. So we're going to cover everything that you can do at home, basically. And if you can't get it done at home, then that's when you got to go see your doctor and try to get help for your symptoms. So let me get back to this. Mucinex, Alka-Seltzer Plus, Tylenol, sinus, Advil, sinus. No matter the name, remember phenylephrine is the active ingredient that you're looking for if you're targeting sinuses. So always look for the medication that treats the symptoms that are most troublesome for you. When you come into, this is kind of a tip. When you come into the doctor's office, you're going to get a prescription for the sinuses. You may get an antibiotic. You may get a prescription for cough. You may get a prescription for like red, itchy, watery eyes. So you're going to leave out of the doctor's office with sometimes 3-4 prescriptions. But the over-the-counter medications have a little bit of all of those medications in one in very small doses. So the difference between day and nighttime formulas is the nighttime formula has a medication in it that makes you sleepy. And that medication is an antihistamine. So in this medication, in the Mucinex nighttime, the antihistamine is doxylamine, which I'm not really familiar with that one, but I do know that it makes you sleepy. So that's the difference between the day and the night formula. This has an extra dose of medication in it that makes you sleepy. All right. But just remember, no matter what version you prefer, well, let me say this. Pick the version you prefer, whether it be pill, whether it be like a drinkable version or a nasal spray. Get the one that targets your symptoms the most accurately, okay? So those cover the sinus headache medications. What I do want to say is the store brands are just as good as the name brands. So don't feel the need to get, you know, the name brand medications. If, like I said, if you look at the active ingredient on the back, it's going to be all the same. So no need to pay all that extra money for name brand. This is not your clothes. This is not your handbag. This is not your shoes. So it's medication. It's the same dose in all of the medications, so you can just get the generic if you want, okay? So another thing you can do to kind of supplement taking the sinus medicines at night is these nasal strips. And you may just use these by themselves if you have like allergy symptoms. But you can put the nasal strips on as well to help open your sinuses up. And they come in different sizes. This is the Walmart brand. They do have the name brand. But if I could get the generic for cheaper, that's what I'm gonna get. So sinus symptoms don't always involve getting a sinus headache. A lot of times sinus and allergy symptoms involve just a little bit of stuffiness, runny nose, sneezing, itchy ears, watery eyes. And in that case, there's also the medications like Claritin D, Allegra D, Zyrtec D. those medications have the decongestant in them, as well as the allergy medication, to help with the stuffiness, the sinus pressure and the sinus pain. So I'm gonna push these over to the side, and we're gonna talk about, because it is allergy season, because the pollen's falling, we're gonna talk about the allergy medications. All right, so I got the name brand ones because this is what people typically are familiar with. All right, so you got Xyzal, you got Flonase, which is the nasal spray. Let me push these over to the side. Flonase, Xyzal, Claritin, Allegra, and Zyrtec. Now remember, the D formulations of these, the Claritin D, Allegra D, Zyrtec D, they target allergy symptoms and the sinus pressure. So just remember, any medication, if you have high blood pressure issues, any medication with the D on it, and you want to look at the back, if it has phenylephrine, you want to stay away from that. But Zyrtec, Claritin, Allegra, and Xyzal all target those runny eyes, itchy ears, scratchy throat, that post-nasal drip, the sneezing symptoms. And you can just remember that these medications dry everything up. So if you're walking around feeling like a bag of snot, which is gross but true, if you're walking around feeling like a bag of snot, you can get these medications, which are antihistamines, okay? And when you look on the back, it will tell you, can you see that? It will tell you that there's an antihistamine, and the difference between all of these medications is there's a different type of antihistamine. So Claritin is loratadine, Allegra is fexofenadine, Zyrtec is cetirizine. They're all antihistamines. They are all very similar, almost the same to Benadryl, except they do not cause drowsiness. Xyzal as well. Xyzal is levocetirizine. So all of these are basically the same as Benadryl, but they don't cause the drowsiness, okay? So for any of those allergy symptoms that don't involve a lot of pain and pressure and headache, you can get either one of these guys and they'll help with those symptoms. Flonase is a nasal spray, and it is not an antihistamine. It is a nasal steroid, okay? Steroid like, literally steroid like, all right? So, it's just a steroid medication, all right? If you're using Flonase, you're not gonna turn into Incredible Hulk or a bodybuilder or anything like that, or your head's not gonna swell up. It's just a nasal steroid, and what the nasal steroid does is it decreases the pressure, and it opens up the sinus cavity. So like the sinus pain, sinus headache nasal spray, they work sort of in the same way, but this decreases inflammation. And this, you can use this more of a long term, the Flonase, whereas the Afrin, or the generic Afrin, you can only use it for a maximum of like 5 days, all right? If you use it longer, it's gonna start to make you get stuffy, which is crazy. It causes rebound sinus congestion. So that means you're using it to help with your sinus congestion. You keep using it, it's gonna keep you congested. So you can only use this for a short period of time. But the Flonase helps with the sinus swelling and the inflammation in the sinus cavities. It kind of helps with the postnasal drip. So all of these are very helpful for allergy symptoms and to help combat those allergies. So if you're finding this information helpful, please give me a thumbs up and let me know how you feel about it in the comments below. And follow me on this channel because we are going to be covering a lot more in this sinus series to help you guys out with the problems that you may be having related to sinus headache, migraines, sinus infections, and I'm going to be covering traditional over-the-counter therapies and more natural remedies. So give me a thumbs up, follow, subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next video.